right, guys, so we're gonna get started. With conditions being tough, I'm gonna switch to a drop shot rig, more of a flip shot or drag shot than an actual drop shot. Let me show you how I set it up. The foundation for it is these no twist hooks from Mustad. And I'm gonna show you how I tie it, how I rig it, and then we're gonna get out there and I'm gonna show you how I fish it. So start off with, the hook needs to face up. So what I like to do is I like to tie the bottom line first. When you can tie a Palomar, you can tie a improved clinch, you can tie, you know, whatever you want to. So what I like to do is tie like a 4-turn improved clinch. If I hang up, I want this to be the weaker link of my two, so that when it breaks off, I don't lose my hook, and all I have to do is tie on another dropper rig. So do my little improved clinch, pull that down. I'm gonna clip it off and leave just a little tiny tag there. Now, the reason that I tie the dropper first is then I like to take my main line, and what I'll do here is I'm gonna do a Palomar on this one, and I'm using a little bit heavier leader on the top. So what you have to do to tie a Palomar that way, because you can't get the bend to go through the eyes, you have to go through the eye and then go back through the opposite direction. That makes your loop, okay? Once you've made your loop, you're gonna tie your overhand knot. I guess I'll go ahead and show you how to tie a Palomar while we're doing it. So the way a Palomar knot works is you just double the line over, make an overhand loop with your loop, and bring that loop back through the hole, okay? What the tying the dropper does first is allows me to pull that through and then pull my dropper through as well, just like that. Then you're gonna wet the knot. And on the top, which you want to be strong, you always pull the tag in or not your main line, otherwise you'll weaken your main line. Cinch it down by pulling your tag, pull both knots real snug to give it a little tightening down. Clip that off, and now, to finish off your drop shot rig, I want to be about 12 to 18 inches off the bottom. I'm going to clip my line off. And what I'll be using today is this Woo tungsten, and I'm using the cylindrical weights, not the teardrop. I've got the teardrops with me. So this is a Woo tungsten cylindrical drop shot weight. And the way a drop shot weight works is you just tie a knot in your line, just an overhand knot. And you want to leave just a little tag on there, just like that. And the reason for that is you're going to put it through this little hole. You're going to use the tag to hold onto the line and then pull it up in that V. So that's how it's finished. Now, 9 times out of 10 when this hangs up, you can pull real hard and that knot will break and you don't lose your whole rig. Tie a new knot, drop a new weight on there, and you're good to go. Woo tungsten makes the most affordable yet high quality tungsten on the market. So I don't have a problem throwing a $2 or $3 sinker into somewhere where I might not get it back, but I do have a problem throwing a $7, $8, $9 sinker in there, and that's why I choose to use Woo tungsten. So there's your setup. You got your weight on the bottom. I'm at about 18 to 24 inches here to start off with, because I can always trim it down. But when I say I want to be 12 inches off the bottom, since I'm casting this, when the weight's sitting on bottom at an angle, now if you look, that thing is 12 inches off the bottom. If I'm vertically drop shotting, then you need to measure to where your weight's going to be sitting. But since I'm pitching this up under docks, throwing it in treetops, and I want to jiggle that bait out in front of them, I'm going to make it a little bit longer to start with so I can be, you know, that foot off the bottom. If necessary, and my electronics are telling me that I need to change, I can change. But you can always make that shorter, a lot harder, a lot easier than making it longer. So I'm going to start off with it set up just like that. What I'm going to start with is I'm just going to start with a little fluke. There's a lot of shad up the creeks. I may switch to a worm in a bit, but I'm going to start with a little fluke. I always have a lot of success with a fluke. You just want to come in behind the nose. What I like to do is I like to make it to where the plastic and the tip of the nose are about the same. You can make it even a little longer to where the plastic acts like a bit of a weed guard and it's sticking up out the top, just like that. But what I like is when they grab it, they're instantly hooked and there's nothing to interfere with it. So you drop that down, jiggle that soft plastic in their face, and it holds your rig where you need it to be. Makes that lure just sit there. And if you get over the top of a school that's sitting in place, even if you're off peak feeding time, throwing that thing in there, gets crazy action, and as you can see there, but even more action in the water. That setup right there can be deadly when fishing conditions get tough. So I'm gonna start with this today to build my confidence. If I catch a bunch of fish, then I'll move back to power fishing presentations, spinner baits, buzz baits, top water, and things like that. But this is what I'm gonna use to see if they're willing to cooperate today. that could hold some fish. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, nice. And there's the first drop shot fish of the day. So I like to have precision and feel with my drop shot rigs. I don't really fish them on a spinning rod unless I'm fishing vertical. So I'm using an All Pro 7-foot medium heavy. I do like to have some flex so I don't overpower that small wire hook or that light wire hook and that small hook. One of the cool things about pairing this thing up with the Lose reel is I was able to take off my my hook keeper, and then they've got this little flip up deal right here that flips up on the reel, which is pretty cool, and you just slide your weight in behind that, and then it's there, and it's quick to hook it, quick to unhook it, and pitch it when you need to. So that's a cool little innovation from Lose Reels. One of the reasons that I like their stuff, and that's my setup. I'm gonna get out there and see if I can't get them to eat it. Throw a little Cox juice on that for extra, attractiveness and to convince them to go ahead and eat it, and you're in business. Yeah, that is a quality little chunk right there. That's the kind of fish we're looking for. That dude bowed the rod up, and after not catching a quality fish for a couple days, I actually thought I had a much bigger fish on, but he put up a good fight, got every hook on this treble hook, on this square bill, and put up a good little get the day started fight right there. That's a chunk. All right, so I'm gonna get this guy back in the water, and oh, thank you, buddy. We're gonna get back over there and see if we can't get another one. So anytime you start off on the sunny corner of a dock and the shadow is being cast against the bank, and you throw up in there and you catch the fish in the shadow of the legs, it's a good idea to just keep doing that until it don't work anymore. So I'm gonna paddle back up around, set myself up right. What I like to do is throw the bait through the legs and bring it through, and what's happening is the shadow is running along the ground and the bait is running through the middle of the water column. So if they're low, they'll see the shadow and look up and chase after it, but if they're right there in mid water column, they'll just annihilate the bait. One thing to keep in mind when you see these docks back in these creeks like this that have a light on them, by and large, if those folks have a light on their dock, they're hardcore fishermen, and generally what they do is they'll also sink brush piles out in front of their dock. So before I go graph it, I always like to make a few casts and maybe even throw a jig up in there and bump it along the bottom and kind of feel for it to see if there is a brush pile there. And if there's a brush pile there, odds are there's gonna be some fish. Here we go. Oh, I try to give you insightful tips about the things that you should do, and for the most part, professionals, try not to share the dumb stuff that we do, but here's a tip that I want to give you that isn't necessarily that flattering for me. I use my Lowrance Elite 9 Ti to find pretty much those last 3 fish that I caught, and then because I'm a dummy and didn't charge my battery died, and now I'm fishing blind. So make sure you got enough power for your electronics, or you'll be fishing blind like I am right now. God, I wish I had my depth finder on. I hope I got a battery in the truck. Well, done well on the worm today, but I seem to be able to get a little thicker, more aggressive fish on the crankbait. So these wind-blown points are just where it's at right now this time of year. There's a saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I think, though, the thing about that saying is that it doesn't take into account that your definition of beauty is based on where you're from and what you grew up around. I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. I spent 20 years in the Navy, traveled the world, but to me, beautiful is the sun setting behind some cypress trees. It's flooded timber poking up out of the water. It's cypress knees trickling their way from the bank down into the water. It's big bass blowing up. It's gators sliding into the water. And, as a teenager and a young adult, I cut my teeth on fish in Toledo Bend, and therefore it's always going to have that home feel to me. No matter where I've lived or where I've been, if somebody asks me where I'm from, I tell them I'm from Louisiana. And That's because I think you can only be from one place. I'm proud to be from here. I live in Nashville, Tennessee because it's centrally located in the country and helps me with traveling for the job that I do. But the question I get more often than any other is, what's my favorite place to fish? And my favorite place to fish is definitely Toledo Bend. It's that bass lake that on any cast, you can catch that fish of a lifetime. I feel like you've got a better chance at a 10-pound bass, especially a public water, on Toledo Bend than anywhere else in the country. Nice. Yeah, buddy. That's what we're talking about now. That is what we're talking about now. So one of the great things about these fish here on Toledo Bend is just the genetics. So even these fish that are, you know, in that 5.5 pound range, they're just built like a tank. So as they grow up, they're giants. So I'm gonna get this big girl back in the water, and then we'll see if we can't get another one. Any chance I get, I'll stop by here if I'm traveling through, and every chance I get, I plan a trip to come in here and do nothing but focus on trying to catch one of these big old Louisiana giants.